I'm already super impressed with the Celtics. They shoot the lights out, blow out the Knicks, but there's an important lesson about Mazzulla-ball and all of this. All that plus the ring ceremony right now on the Lockdown Celtics podcast.
Thanks to Blockbuster brand, it's holiday season. Drop Drew in the mix, and 3 from KP. No, we not on the Knicks. Flushing competition like Al on Giannis. Juice and Big Juice, still Beantown's finest. Banner 18 going up in the rafters. Watch the C's game in locked on after. Karalis on the breakdown, clutch like a tip from D White on the breakdown. John on the mic documenting domination. Matter pen a back bay, it's all C's nation. Rain and J's how we started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners. Peace.
Hey there, welcome back to the Lockdown Celtics podcast, right here on the Lockdown Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I've got you covered every Monday through Friday, plus bonus podcasts every time they play. So Saturday night against Detroit, yeah, no problem. I got a bonus podcast for you. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, right here on the audio feed or on the YouTube page. Watch the show, get into the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking. Are you new to the show? Then let me introduce myself. I'm John Karalis. I am a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I have been covering this team for like 20 years. I've written a couple of books. One of them is called Built Different, now available on johnkaralis.com and everywhere else. You buy books online. Celebrating Banner 18. We celebrated Banner 18 at the Garden ahead of the Celtics beating the Knicks 132-109. I'll talk about the ring ceremony later. I'll save the best part for last. Although the game was pretty much an amazing part. Very impressive game. I will have some words on the Knicks because the Knicks are supposedly the challengers to the Celtics, and boy, do they need some work. They may end up being the challengers to the Celtics, but they're not close to that yet. I'll get into all of that in just a second. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Go ahead and download that Game Time app. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA. Get $20 off your first purchase of last-minute tickets. Are you new to this whole Celtics podcast? Did you miss Lockdown Celtics postcast with Steve Lennox? That's also on this audio feed. It's on the Lockdown Sports Boston. That's an immediate reaction podcast live on their YouTube page, Lockdown Sports Boston YouTube page, live about 10 minutes after the game. I am here with my maybe a little bit deeper perspective after having talked to everybody, sharing my thoughts there. We also have our thoughts in a newsletter. Go to LockedOnDaily.com for the ultimate Celtics and league coverage. Lockdown Celtics newsletter at LockedOnDaily.com. All right, let's just get into this. Celtics win this game 132-109. They were up by 35 at one point. Jayson Tatum had 37 points, 10 assists, 24 points for Derek White, 23 for Jaylen Brown, 18 for Holiday. Al Horford chips in with 11. He shot really well, 3 of 5 from 3, 4 of 7. So everybody in the starting lineup shoots well, gets into double digits. Sam Hauser joins the club with 10 points. The starters did all the damage. Jayson Tatum comes out. I wrote on Boston Sports Journal, I want to see that Tatum jumper falling early. I want to put an end to this discussion about his jumper. He obliged. 8 of 11 shooting. 8 of 11 shooting. The 8th was the most disrespectful three-pointer because he had Jericho Sims about 10 feet away. Tatum could have caught and shot. Nope. He waits for Sims to come over. Jab step, swing the ball. You know what? I am just going to stick this in your face. I've decided I do actually want to shoot this shot. And he drills it. And at the end, you can see Sims just kind of shaking his head like, shh. Tatum was on fire. 14 of 18, 8 of 11. The entire Celtics team was on fire. 29 of 61. They shot 47.5%. And that's with missing 13 three-pointers in a row at the end of the game, trying to break the record. But before I get to that, I just want to say this is a super impressive win. We've seen ring nights go bad for the championship teams before. We've seen the championship team come in after a short summer, after maybe a little extra celebration, maybe the joy of ring night and seeing those big, monster, gaudy, amazing rings. gets you all worked up, and you see that banner go up and you think, you're all hot stuff. And then the other team comes in and says, I want what you got, because they always schedule a rival or another good team on ring night. The Knicks are supposed to be the Celtics' biggest challenger in the East. The Knicks are supposed to look at that banner going up and go, we want that. We want this whole thing. We want our legends coming out next season to welcome us. We want Clyde Frazier. We want to see all of the Knicks legends that are around coming in and be like, yeah, you guys won a championship. We want all of that, and we're so hungry for it. We're going to come out and let the champs know on TNT that we want what you got. So that combination of things is supposed to make things a little bit close. And at the beginning, it was a little bit back and forth. And then in the middle of the first quarter, the Celtics said, you know what? We're done with this. Tatum was dominant. Yes, he was hot from three. 14 of 18, shooting 78%. He is the first player ever on opening night to go 30 plus, 10 assists, and shoot 75 or better percent. That's pretty amazing. 8 of 11 from three. He's not going to shoot like that all season, obviously. I do not think, I'm going to go on a limb here and say 73% shooting from three is not sustainable for an entire season. If it is, it's a record. So, but beyond him being hot from three, he did everything. He defended. He obviously distributed the ball. He had 10 of the Celtics' 33 assists. The Celtics dishing 33 assists was incredible because of their 95 shots, 61 were from three. So 61 3-pointers, 34 2-pointers. Why take twos if the threes are falling, right? You get 33 assists on that. 10 belong to Tatum. So Tatum, even though he was hot, think about, does anybody have any more justification to shoot than Jayson Tatum at this point? He took 18 shots. So did Jaylen. He could have taken 28 shots if he wanted to. He was on fire. But he moved the ball and still got guys open. He made an incredible lefty hook pass from the left elbow to the right corner to, I think it was Derek White. An absolute laser. What a dime. A behind the back pass to Al Horford in the corner. I mean, just all around great dominant play from Jayson Tatum. All around great dominant play. Super impressed that the Celtics came out with this level of focus. They won basically all of the margins that Joe Mazzulla is looking for. They took 95 shots to the Knicks 78. So you take almost 20 more shots. So the Knicks shot 55% overall. And the Celtics, the math was there. So this is one, not the Mazzulla-ball lesson that I'm getting at. That's coming up. But this is a lesson. This is Joe Mazzulla-ball to a T. You win the margin. You put up more shots than the other team by forcing turnovers. They forced 12, which is compared to the 3 live ball turnovers, 4 overall that they gave up. They forced turnovers and they rebounded like crazy. The Knicks were last season the dominant offensive rebounding team. They had 5 offensive rebounds. The Celtics cleared 29 defensive boards and out-rebounded the Knicks 40-34. Not allowing the Knicks second chance points. Knicks 13. The Celtics had 16. They win that margin. They win the shot margin. They win the three-point margin. They outscored the Knicks. They had 29 three-pointers to 11 three-pointers. The Knicks were 11 of 30. The Celtics almost made as many as the Knicks took. That's winning that battle. It's winning that math. The Knicks took more free throws. Okay, but the Celtics shot better percentage-wise. Celtics out-rebounded them. They won the turnover battle. They won the second chance points. Points in the paint was the only one where the Knicks had 42 and the Celtics had 30. But who cares about that? You're trading twos for threes. The Celtics came out and dominated every one of these margins. on a night where if there was any night for them to be like, I don't know, maybe 85%, maybe 75% is what you're going to get out of us, 100%. Massively impressive win. Let me get to some of these other guys. And that Mazzulla-ball lesson has to do with three-pointers, of course. And the Knicks, why they need a lot of work. All of that stuff is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook, and they've got a great deal for you. You can get a big return starting this season. Place your first $5 bet. Okay, go to FanDuel.com. Here's step by step. Go to FanDuel.com. Make your deposit. Place your first $5 bet. And when you do, you get guaranteed $200 in bonus bets. So whether it's a win or lose, did you have that feeling that maybe the Knicks will come out and steal this? And you bet against the Celtics? Not a problem. You still get your $200 in bonus bets if that was your first $5 bet. So go do that. Get your $200 in bonus bets. If you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check the stats and the live play-by-play and a whole lot more right on the page where you place your bets, so you can confirm all of your suspicions and then place your bet right from that same page. Use the tools that they've got. Set your limits, set your budget, gamble responsibly so you're having fun and not going overboard at FanDuel.com. It's America's #1 sportsbook. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Locked On NBA is coming up. We're doing all kinds of new things. We're adding a show in the middle of the day to Locked On NBA. We've got the show at night that's going to be going 7 days a week. I will be doing the Friday show now. Fridays with me and Jake Madison, covering all the stories, all the big stories, all the games from Thursday night. So make sure you're checking that out. Locked On NBA. You got to make that your second listen right after Locked On Celtics. Let's get back to this game. Run down some of these other performances because I mentioned Jaylen Brown briefly. If it wasn't for Tatum being super mega hot, Jaylen Brown's night was just almost as impressive. He scored 23 points, 7 rebounds for him, just 1 assist, but 1 turnover. Defensively, both Jayson and Jaylen, everybody played pretty good defense. Weird to say when the Knicks shoot 55%, and I'm not saying it was perfect defense, but again, holding them to 78 shots, when you put up almost 20 more shots, shooting the way the Celtics are, of course it was a blowout. So Jaylen, 7 of 18, 5 of 9 from 3, 4 of 4 from the line. That's a nice 4 of 4 from the line. Signature moment came on the defensive end, forcing Jalen Brunson into that 8-second call. And that was in the second half after the Celtics were up by 20. He's in there still playing hard, still playing that defense. So a great night for Jaylen overall. Jayson was the #1 story. Jaylen Brown was the 1A story. And defensively, I thought everybody made their mark. Derek White, obviously, great defender. Nice play early in the game. Early in the game, like first quarter, Tatum gets the strip of Brunson. Derek White picks it up, kind of whips this nice kick-ahead pass to Jayson Tatum, who gets the dunk. Just good teamwork. These guys know where they are. The Celtics know how to rotate on offense. After the game, Jayson Tatum said, all we do in practice is make reads. Yes, we have plays, but we make reads. And the Celtics were doing kind of like the same types of things over and over again, daring the Knicks to try to stop them. I thought Luke Cornett came in and did a very good job in a high pick and roll, setting high screens for Jayson Tatum. Tatum just dribble off left, step right into the jump shot, and drilled it. A right-handed shooter dribbling left. I don't know if it's like this for every right-handed shooter. I like dribbling left because there's a natural bringing the ball to your right hand and going up. Rather than going to your right, when you dribble to your right, you got to bring the ball to your left as your guide hand and then bring the ball up. Whereas if you're dribbling to your left, you take that one step, that ball is coming right into that natural motion going up. So Tatum, high pick and roll, dribbling to the left into a natural shooting motion with that kind of refined, not remade, refined jumper Very good. The Celtics just kept running the same stuff over and over, working to generate good three-pointers. They tied an NBA record with 29 made three-pointers. They did it with like 8.5 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. I thought it was a guarantee that they were going to make that 30th. I thought they were going to make 35 at this point. And then a funny thing happened. Everybody caught wind. Everybody realized, oh, wow, wait a minute, we're close to a record. Derek White said, I asked around what the record was. People in the crowd, when all of a sudden you start seeing in that moment a little extra anticipation from the crowd. This is why I love this Boston crowd. They knew. The word got out, and no one said anything over the PA. It's just people on their phones, people realizing, and the entire crowd kind of knew we're on the verge of seeing a record being set here, to the point where the chant of one more three came up in the crowd. This is your lesson. This is your Mazzulla-ball lesson. Jaylen Brown said it after the game. When we were playing free, we were hitting everything. As soon as we realized we were one away and we started hunting those shots, couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. That's your lesson. And this is why Joe Mazzulla always says, I don't tell these guys to take just take three-pointers. It's not about taking a specific shot. It's about taking the best shot. In this game, for three quarters and 4 minutes of the fourth quarter, 4.5, they took the best shot. And for, let's see, 61 minus 13 is 58. 58 attempts. No, 48. 48 attempts. They were hunting. They weren't hunting shots. They were taking the best shot available, and 48 of those were three-pointers. And those were mostly good shots. As soon as they said, oh, you know what? I'm worried. All I want to take is a three for the final 8.5 minutes. 0 for 13. It's as plain as day. Joe Mazzulla gets the kickback, and people have been making comments. I heard it on the postcast with Steve Lennox. People making comments in there in the live YouTube feed. Joe Mazzulla's got to be the happiest guy. Yeah, he gets the kickback and go to a film session and say, see, all these media members think that I tell you to take three-pointers. And when that's all you're hunting, look at what happens. Take the best shot available. Take the best shot. And those weren't the best shots. They were good looks, but they weren't the best shots. They weren't just playing basketball. So, but by the way, side note, that record is going down this year. The Celtics are hitting 33-pointers in a game somewhere this season. That's absolutely happening. This is not the last time the Celtics take 63-pointers in a game. The record is 70. They'll get there. They'll get there. If this game was any closer, then Tatum would have stayed in. This is great. Tatum played 30 minutes. Jaylen played a little under 30 minutes. 26 for Horford, 26.5 for White, 30.5 for Holiday. Perfect minutes distribution across the board. But in a regular game, if this wasn't a blowout, add 5 minutes to all those guys, one of those three-pointers is falling, and they're taking plenty more. But the lesson is there, plain as day. Mazzulla-ball is not about just jacking three-pointers. The Celtics didn't just go down and fire up the first three that they got. A couple of times they did. No doubt about it. Were there a couple of heat checks? Sure. That's unavoidable. That's going to happen no matter what. Whether you take 25 threes or 61 threes, somebody's going to take a heat check somewhere. There's going to be early offense. In today's NBA, there's going to be an early offense three. You're dribbling down. You're in rhythm. You see the defender slide down below the three-point line. You're in rhythm above the three-point line. You take it. If you're a good enough shooter, you take that shot because that's going to be the best shot you get. And it also, that's the math. That's where the math kicks in. I'm going to take this shot. Yeah, it's 18 on the shot clock. I have sat here on this podcast within the past couple of years and said, that's a horrible shot. Not anymore. My mind has been changed. I understand what they're doing. that's a good shot for a guy like Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday, those guys. It's a good shot because they're capable of hitting it, and the defense is good enough where you just try to get a stop, you come back down, you're increasing the number of shots, you're increasing your chances of making these decent looks. You don't want to do it all the time, but every once in a while you want to, and it keeps the defense honest. It keeps the floor spaced. If that defender is lagging, you got to take one or two of those threes every once in a while so they can step on up, and that just opens up the lanes. Now you got the guy up on you. You can try to blow by, force the help now. Instead of him sagging, now somebody's got to help, and that's when you kick, and that's when you swing, and that's where the defense gets into rotation. So there's a method to that madness. But just coming down and saying, all I want to take is threes, that's what happens. That's where you get the 0 for 13. I'll quickly come back and mention some of the bench performers and then get into the ring ceremony, which was super cool. That is all coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. It's the place to go for your last-minute tickets, the best prices on not just your sports tickets, not just, hey, you know what? I do want to go see the Celtics and the Bucks next Monday. It's a concert. Somebody you didn't realize is in town. Maybe you're just bored and scrolling through the app and being like, I want to go to this comedy show. It's all there at Game Time. Use the Game Time picks. It's curation, making your ticket search simple. It filters out the fluff so you can save more on all of these. You toggle the all-in pricing, and that feature will show you the total price up front. No surprise fees at checkout. You'll always get the panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy it. And the lowest price guarantee means you get credited 110% of the difference if you find those tickets somewhere else for less. I have used Game Time. Super easy to find tickets, super easy to use and pull them up, nothing complicated, and it filters out all that fluff so you can get those incredible deals. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA, you get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Remember, Locked On Celtics postcast after games. Most games, almost all games. There might be a couple here or there, but not. But just Locked On Celtics postcast. You'll see it on the audio feed, clearly marked postcast. So it's on the same audio feed as Locked On Celtics. For the video, it's on Locked On Sports Boston. Locked On Sports Boston. Live when you, 10 minutes after the game, 5 minutes after the game, live YouTube post-game show on the Locked On Sports Boston page. So go check that out. A couple of other performers here from the game, just quickly. Luke Cornett, I think, did a good job stepping in defensively. Sam Hauser, I wish he would have hit one of those threes at the end, but rebounding. How about Sam Hauser chomping glass out there? He had 5 rebounds, was leading the team early on. Don't be surprised if in your fantasy league you want a shooter with Hauser, but how about getting some rebounds out of him? Xavier Tillman, I really wish he had shot better. 0 of 3 from 3. I was so ready for the Xavier Tillman makes the game, the record-breaking three-pointer. I was so into that. That would have been so amazing. And that's about it. So don't want to overreact to this, but again, super impressed. Also, don't want to overreact necessarily to the New York Knicks, but because they are billed as the Celtics' #1 competition, whew, man, they need work. They need work. The Celtics hunted Karl-Anthony Towns mercilessly. They hunted Karl-Anthony Towns. And right away on the opening night, it's almost as if Joe Mazzulla, and I didn't ask him about this because the story after the game was mostly about the ring ceremony, but it's almost as if Joe was like, hey, by the way, I'm going to tell you exactly how we're going to beat you if we ever meet in a playoff series, and there's nothing you can do about it. You got Karl Anthony Towns. We want you to have Karl Anthony Towns. They put him in actions, and he got spun around. He was up in the perimeter, blow-bys. They specifically called him out plenty. They went after him. They went after Jalen Brunson. They picked on everybody. The Knicks were a very hardworking, tough defensive team. Yes, they tilted more to the offense. They're not the defensive team that Tom Thibodeau teams always were. But they were the offensive rebound team last year. And I know that Mitchell Robinson is out, and he was a big part of that. But only 5 offensive rebounds for them. This is a big stylistic change. They're going to have to figure things out. Mikal Bridges went and Markelle Fultzed himself. What is that 3-point shot? What is that new shooting form? That, if I'm a Knicks fan, I'm looking at him shoot like that. I'm like, what? We give up all those first-round picks for that? What are you doing? What did you do to yourself? It's like he wanted to increase his range, and he tried to change his shot from 3. Maybe it's just a work in progress. I don't know. It looks awful. And he was 2 of 7 from 3. So not great. Knicks didn't shoot great. 11 of 30 from 3 overall. So they had a cold shooting night. But, I mean, if it wasn't for Miles McBride, they would have lost by 50. Did OG Anunoby play? 34 minutes, 1 of 7, 0 of 4 from 3, a minus 21, 4 points for Anunoby. Josh Hart, minus 23, 12 points. Like, I'm looking at these. Karl Anthony Towns, for the longest time, I was like, what? He had a couple of nice plays, but I'm like, he was invisible for most of the first half. Incredible. Brunson had a 22-point game on 9 of 14 shooting, but I was like shocked when I saw those numbers. I don't know what the Knicks are going to be in March, but right now they are not anywhere close to what they've been billed. The trade came very close to training camp, so I'm not overreacting to this. I'm not saying they suck. They sucked in this game, but I'm not saying they suck in general. I'm not saying that they won't figure it out. They very well could, but what I'm saying is they got a lot of work to do. The Knicks, if this is the Knicks team playing this way still after the All-Star break, Knicks going to have problems. They're not going to be a second seed. They're going to be in that 4-5 game, probably as the 5 seed playing this way. But it's so long to go. We're not going to overreact to one game in October. All right, the ring ceremony was super cool. That ring is outrageous in an awesome way. That thing is huge. It's funny. I was walking out to my seat in the arena right before the ceremony started, and I walked by 3 trays of those rings, like in the back, and I was like, "Ooh, those are sparkly." There's so many emeralds and diamonds in that thing. The Celtics tweeted out all the specifics, but they have got it. It comes apart. There's 3 stages to it. Joe Mazzulla was hilarious. He's like, "That ring is too big. Why is it so big? I'm never going to wear it, but it's cool to have." Al Horford talked about how huge that thing is, and he had it sized when his finger was swollen and dislocated. He screwed up the sizing, so he can't wear it. But that thing is audacious. Audacious. That thing is just monstrous. But a cool moment, like Bob Cousy being there, 96 years old. Before the game, Joe Mazzulla dropped a quote from Red Auerbach saying, "The Celtics aren't a team, they're a way of life." Bob Cousy was here before Red Auerbach. Bob Cousy was here before the way of life. Bob Cousy, when he was 19, the BAA existed. The NBA didn't even exist. The NBA came like a couple years later. Jayson Tatum got drafted at 19. To see Cousy there, 96 years old, throwing up as Jason said, throwing up the deuces, it was inspiring. To see him, to see Max, to see KG, Paul Pierce, and Ray. That was awesome. It would have been nice. I think Steve said this in the postcast, and I agree that it would have been nice to have a few more. Have a few more guys out there somewhere. Robert Parrish wasn't around. Nobody from the 80s teams was around. Danny Ainge didn't want a free trip to Boston. Where's Kevin McHale? Where are those guys? Somebody's got to be around. So, but regardless, to see those legends, the legends that were there, I think that touched these guys. I think they really understood the moment, the magnitude of the moment. The banner raising, it was cool. Can I just say they couldn't run a steamer over that thing? That banner was incredibly wrinkled. I hate to say it, but the picture of the banner, the guys with the banner, I'm looking at it, I'm like, does somebody not have an iron? Did somebody not want to iron this thing? What is that? I don't want to ruin it, but I'm sure a couple of you are in there like, yes. I saw people on Twitter asking, like, can somebody Photoshop the wrinkles out of this thing? Like, but what I do think is going to happen, honestly, I think what it will happen is I do think it's going to get repositioned. I don't think where it went up is where it's going to stay. It might stay there. I could be wrong, but they can take it down, iron it out, steam it, do whatever they need to do, put it where it's going to finally stay, and be done with it. So the banner raising was ceremonial. I don't know where it's going to live actually, but it was cool to see it go up. Tatum, Brown, Horford, after the game, they all very clearly touched. Jaylen talking about picking up the ring and seeing basically, all of the ups and downs represented in that ring. Jayson in the moment was like, let's do it again. And afterwards, like, yeah, I know we're not supposed to talk about repeating, but crowd was into it. I was into it. Whatever. Nice little insight in there, because clearly the edict from Joe Mazzulla is we do not talk about repeating. The only thing we're repeating, and it's part of one of their promotional videos, we're repeating the steps. That's how they're selling it. But Jayson in the moment got carried away. Who's going to tell him that he was wrong? I thought Joe Mazzulla was going to do push-ups or burpees or something when he went to kiss the parquet. And he was asked after the game, how did the floor taste? And he goes, like blood, or at least I wish it did. So we got another Joe Mazzulla maniac quote out of it. But it also, an awesome night. Just super cool to see it, to be there. To me, it still kind of doesn't feel real. I've been sitting here with this on YouTube with this confetti background this whole time, and it's Celtics are champs, and the rings and the banner proved it. And I think to go through that and to come out the way they did in this game just confirms everything I was saying in the preseason. This team looks ready. They look locked in. Things can change. Obviously, things can change. There could be a letdown somewhere. They could lose their next 2 games. I don't know. But the way they're playing, the way they came out, they look incredible. They look incredible. This isn't opening night, October 22nd. That was a, late February getting ready for the playoffs and starting to ramp up type of game. I swear I'm not overreacting. I swear I'm not trying to overreact. I'm going to let it go. I'm going to stop. So we'll see how the rest of this goes. This is only game 1. There's 81 left, plus the playoffs. So the next one is Thursday night in Washington, Saturday on the road in Detroit, and then back home Monday against the Milwaukee Bucks. Can they go 2-0, 3-0, 4-0? We'll see. I'll be here for all of them. So I will have post-game podcasts for all of those, plus podcasts Monday through Friday for you. So make sure you're subscribed on this feed. Make sure you are also subscribed to the postcast, which is, if you're on this audio feed, you're already subscribed to it. You're going to see it. So all you got to do is click on it. Locked On Sports Boston is where the YouTube page for Postcast lives. Locked On Celtics podcast YouTube page stays unchanged. You can keep doing what you're doing every other way. Sign up for the podcast newsletter. Locked On Celtics has a daily newsletter now. So it's one stop. If you miss the podcast, you get the newsletter, kind of a recap of it. So maybe it'll be a reminder to go listen. It's at lockedondaily.com. That's lockedondaily.com. Start your day with the all-new free Locked On Celtics team newsletter. Now, if you've done all that and you're subscribed and all of that, one more thing. Could you please share the podcast? Can you tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast? Here on the Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day.